All right, examples of a good research question. So say the topic was television, I could ask the question, is there a link between hours of television viewing and violent behavior in children aged 8 to 14? It's specific, but not too specific. It's an open-ended question. It requires more than just a yes or no answer. It's not too broad, and it won't take a whole book to answer it, okay? Another topic, let's say the well-being of people or health, right? The question could be, why is friendship important to a person's well-being? And again, this is specific enough that it's not too broad, not too narrow, and it's not, it doesn't like take a whole book to answer. So it's just right, like the Three Little Bears. Okay. All right. Next, examples of problem research questions. Okay. So this is an example of one that's too narrow. Does France have a nationalized healthcare system? And when did D-Day begin during World War II? Now, these questions have a yes or no answer, and they can be answered in one word. You need to have open-ended questions. These are too specific, too narrow, and not open-ended. All right, another example of problem research questions. Something that's too broad. What is the history of baseball? That research question cannot be covered in this research project that you only are going to be doing like, a 6-minute presentation basically. So it's going to go very quickly. You only have like 10 slides. And then there's an example of being too challenging. Does McDonald's or Burger King make a better burger? That question calls for an opinion. What does better really mean? This would be really hard to research to provide evidence. Remember, we talked about when you guys did the informational essay, or not the informational, the argumentative essay, that when you do provide something that has an opinion, not to do the word better, because it's really hard to prove that with any kind of factual evidence. So just keep that in mind. All right, we're going to watch another short video on developing a research question to help you narrow it down a little bit more.
So, you have to write a research paper. For some of you, this might mean going to Google, typing in your general topic, and using information from the first 2 or 3 results that you find. For others, this might mean trying to find out everything you possibly can about your topic. Unfortunately, neither of these approaches is likely to get great results. To be done right, research needs to be guided by a focused research question. Without a good research question, you will probably end up with a paper that never really comes together because you didn't have a clear direction. But what exactly is a research question? At the most basic, the research question is just a question related to your topic that needs to be answered. The whole purpose of your research will be to provide an answer to the question. You're probably thinking that this doesn't sound too difficult. If a research question is just a question about your topic, it should be easy to come up with one, right? Well, not exactly. For many students, developing a research question is actually one of the hardest parts of the whole research process. In some cases, a student might not know enough about their topic to even understand the kinds of questions that are possible to ask. Even if the student has some knowledge about the topic, they may still not have a good idea of the whole scope of the topic or of recent developments related to that topic. For this reason, it's usually a good idea to try to do some background research before you try to settle on a specific question. This doesn't have to be extensive or time-consuming. For many of you, simply looking at a Wikipedia article or a few recent news articles related to your topic will be enough to give you some ideas for directions that you want to explore. Once you have a bit of background information, you'll be better able to focus your topic into a good research question. But what makes a question a good research question? There are several things that you need to keep in mind. First, a research question should not be too narrow or too broad. If you could answer your question with a few facts, you're not researching, you're just searching. On the other hand, if you would need to write an entire book to appropriately answer your question, then it's probably not a good question for you either, at least at this level. Your question also needs to be specific. Questions such as, is television a bad influence, is very vague. Which television programs are you talking about? What audience are you talking about? What exactly do you mean by bad? Making your question a bit more precise will give you more direction for your research. A research question should also have some significance. It should be something that interests you, because you will be spending some time with a topic, but it should also be something that other people might find important as well. This doesn't mean that you can't research topics like popular culture or sports or social media. It just means that you need to frame your research in such a way as to make sure the topic is relevant to more than just you. While you want your topic to be significant, you also want to be careful not to ask the types of questions that can't really be answered. Questions such as, why must people suffer, or what happens after we die, are certainly significant to many people, but very difficult to answer. Keep in mind that research papers are not intended to be philosophical treatises. So, as you can see, asking any old question related to your topic won't work. Fortunately, many poor research questions can be transformed into good research questions with only a few tweaks. For example, the question of, why must people suffer, could be transformed into a more focused question, such as, how have major 20th century Christian theologians explained the purpose of human suffering? Finally, you might also want to make your research question a little bit unique or creative. Some topics have already been researched over and over and over, and you might want to avoid those topics if you can. If you do have a common topic, it's often a good idea to try to find a slightly different angle, something that allows you to add your own twist. After all, research should not be about asking questions that have already been answered many times before.
Created using Powtoon.
Okay, so at this point you should have a better idea on how to create an effective or a very strong research question. But if you do have any questions, don't forget to reach out to me or Ms. Tiemann or Ms. Shea and just run your question by one of us. All right, guys, happy researching!